You're talking about 6 months as opposed to
So that's in House Bill 926 now. And
60 days.
yes, so right now in Texas, if somebody files for divorce,
Was that filed last session?
it was filed last
How far
section.
did it get?
So the interesting thing is the House Bill, it was called House Bill 65, and that was to extend the waiting period from 60 days to 180 days. And it passed out of committee unanimously. It was a bipartisan committee,
Yeah.
Republicans and Democrats. It had 22 co-sponsors. Every single person who heard it said this is a good bill. It passed out. But they never got it to the floor for a vote. And that was a shame. Because it's reasonable. Mike, if you're married for 20 years, it's not reasonable to expect people to somehow settle everything in 60 days. Especially if one person is saying, wait a minute, I don't even want the divorce. Well, you've got to settle. And and I mean, I'll tell you, Mike, because this happened to me.
Uh-huh.
My ex-wife's divorce attorney, and I'll mention his name because I don't mind, let him have a little sunshine on him. His name was Charles Schurenberg. And, basically he's like...
Sunlight is best disinfectant.
Yeah. And he was one of the most ethical attorneys in this team. But I mean, he's out there and if I don't, I'm getting threatened by these things. If I don't sign, they're going to do this, it's going to cost us so much money. And Mike, when you're going through this, again, you have no defense. So basically you've got to say, if I try to defend myself, you're still going to lose. So you might have spent $30,000 and you lose. And then, by the way, because the Texas Family Code says, well, maybe your wife or your husband doesn't have the money to pay, the judge can say, well, now you get to pay for her bill or his bill too, because the attorneys need to be paid. So there's no disincentive to the attorneys. And Mike, if this were a medical practice, could you imagine how many malpractice suits would be fired against an MD if they were killing somebody who was just sick, giving them a drug that administers euthanasia to them. But the divorce attorneys, they have no accountability. And the reality is, as you were saying, they want a little conflict because it's a little bit more billable hours.
Yeah, it's file this motion,
Right.
There's more money.
Right, and by the way, so the first thing we do, you go in there and say, so what is your balance sheet? So you got $400,000. So there was an unwritten, one guy told me in California there was an unwritten law among the attorneys. It was never written down. But we can take up to 40% of that for ourselves. It'll hurt them, but they won't come back and kill us over it.
Uh-huh.
We can go to 40%. So they've got 400,000. That means 160,000. We'll go a little bit less than that for a little bit of cushion. So maybe it will cost them $145,000, $150,000. It's going to hurt them, but and we'll pretend that we're fighting for them.
But they'll live.
But they'll live. And you know what? They can also take a look and say, oh, you've got a college fund for your kids. You know what? My kid needs a college fund. Your kid doesn't need it as much as my kid. They are helping to destroy families. And they're saying, they talk about the best interest of the child after they've also destroyed the child's college fund. So the thing with House Bill 926 is that it would give the person who's being subject to a no-fault divorce the breathing room that they need to say, hey, we're not going to, you don't have to do this in 60 days. First off, you can only, the divorce will only be effectual if it's mutual consent. The second thing is, you don't have to feel like you're under time pressure right away. And six months really even is not that much time.
Right.
So, but anyway.
That's why I figured it probably came out of committee because 180 days is you have that Title VII claims, and 180 days is around in a few places.
Yeah.
More than a few places.
Yeah. But I mean, if say, you're in a process of divorce and you've got children, and now you've got to find a new apartment, you've got to say, okay, now I've got to buy extra beds for the kids or whatever it may be, and then where are the kids going to go to school, and in many instances,
You can approach things in a more rational, reasonable
Right.
kind of way.
Right, because when you're forced, you make bad decisions at a very emotionally tumultuous time. And then the moment you do something, somebody's going to say, well, you signed it. Forget about the fact that you were under duress and everything else, but you signed it. And by the way, if you don't sign it, it's going to cost you more money.
And Jeff, that's why I say, to me, many of the problems that exist in this arena
Right.
can be solved if lawyers and judges and other divorce professionals
Right.
approach the thing not from the standpoint of just grabbing money,
Right.
but
Right.
that you're actually affecting and impacting lives.
Yeah. So that,
Because the fact that you're dealing with live people gets lost in
yeah.
the fuss.
So the Texas Family Law Foundation, I don't know if you saw this video or not, but in February of 2017, the president of the Texas Family Law Foundation got in front of the Juvenile Services and Family Issues Committee in the House. And the president's up there and she's saying one of the things that she is most proud of is being a lobbyist for the Texas Family Bar. What is the purpose of a lobbyist? To protect the financial interests of the people they're representing. You know,
Protects financial interests of the people who are paying them.
yeah, exactly. So, I mean, if I were a lobbyist for a tobacco company, you would look at me like, you know, you're trying to make sure that your cigarettes get out there at the expense of the health of my kids. You have divorce attorneys at the Texas Family Law Foundation. They're going to protect the financial interests of the divorce attorneys, not just at the expense of the health of your kids, but perhaps their social life, their emotional, everything. I mean, people don't talk about suicides that take place because of divorce and stuff like that. And somehow it's the parents' fault. These people that are advocating easy divorce, and the Texas Family Law Foundation will be up there, Michael. They will be up there and they will be defending why we should not change the divorce laws. Because if we change the divorce laws, all of a sudden their income could go like this.
It affects your pocketbook.
Right, right. But at the same time, the health of our kids may go like this. So, you know, it doesn't make a difference. We're talking about the best interest of the children. Really, we're talking about the best interest of the pocketbook. Yeah. And I mean, you know as well, many people that go through divorce, that all of a sudden, you're both wonderful parents until somebody files for divorce, and now the attorney says, oh, but we've got to get you the kids. So you've got to turn your spouse into this evil person. You've got to denigrate him or her, and one person is going to come out of this arena as the victor,
Right.
with the kids, and the child support, by the way,
Right.
and the other person is going to be a visitor.
That's why I say in my real jurisprudence,
Yeah.
an adversarial proceeding is not the place to be resolving family issues.
Right. Right.
Because you get emotions and all that kind of
Right.
thing involved.
Right.
Then you got attorneys who
Yeah.
want to get money, and
Yeah.
psychiatrists want to get paid, psychologists, therapists. It's just too much.
So, in my opinion, is that if, and you know, right now the Texas Family Code will tell you about, you know, if you go through these evaluations and so on, who gets to pay and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
If the Texas Family Code permits this type of a divorce, insupportability, which basically says for any reason, for no reason, you can make up a reason, because we all know that in family court, perjury does not get, yeah, but you know, then we ought to be telling the taxpayers, okay, you know what? This is what you are permitting, you get stuck with the bill. Why should these people get punished? Why should an innocent person get punished with a bill that may be $50,000, $100,000 for all of this stuff? You know, it's part of the divorce apparatus. It's the divorce industry. You know, we talk about big pharmacy, we talk about big tobacco, whatever it may be. Divorce
it's a racket.
It is a racket. And, you know, that's why I would like to say the divorce industry actually needs to be regulated. Look, in banking, we have regulations for banks. Why? So that they don't bilk people out of their money. They have, you know, UDAP, the Unfair and Deceptive Acts procedure. Why don't we make the attorneys do this? Why don't we have a place where, you know what, just like banks, if there is a, you know, if the bank does something, they can file it with a regulatory agency. Let's have a regulatory agency for the divorce attorneys and let them be, because right now, they can do anything they want. In fact, it's in their best interest.
To put in the partners that I have heard, and I've around after 40 years,
Yeah.
it's whatever the road will bear.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Whatever the road will bear, that is what it is.
yeah.
And I don't know if that's fair or right and all that stuff, but I know it can have some very negative effects on people's lives.
Absolutely.
And as I said, it's what's lost in all of this are lives.
Yes.